on Hope FM, where you listen and live. 93.3 Nairobi, 93.9 in Nakuru, 101.9 in Mombasa, Hope Media Kenya, if you're listening from any other part of God's green earth. Time now for the Saturday Vibes devotion, which is titled The King's Parchment. Yes, indeed. We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter at Hope FM Live. 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 12. I want to quote a scripture that most of us have heard, especially the young people, but have we really thought about it? 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 12 says, "Don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. Be an example to all believers in what you say, in the way you live, in your love, your faith, and your purity." Once again, 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 12. Don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. You will be an example to all believers in what you say, in the way you live, in your love, your faith, and your purity. Now today, I want to talk about being an example. Being an example. Why? Most of the time, we try really to tell people about our Jesus, the Jesus that we believe in, but we don't really show it. We want to tell them, we want to insist that they should know Jesus, that they should walk in the light, that they should come to the kingdom, they should join us on this other side, but it doesn't really show in our lives. Once again, 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 12. Now, the first thing you need to understand is no one should despise you. Like scripture is saying, don't let anyone think less of you. That is to mean yourself. Begin with yourself. Do not think less of yourself. Do not feel like I can't achieve, I can't be successful, I can't, especially when you're in Kenya and Africa at large. If you succeed quite early, by the time unamaliza, you know, your high school, unaingia campus, you're getting straight A's, and then you get a scholarship, and then you get work real quick. People tend to look at you some type of way, but do not let anyone look down on you because you're a young person. You're a teenager and you've already got the gifting of preaching, for example. Do not let anyone look down on you. You're a teenager, you're a young person, and at this particular moment, you got the gift of writing, and you can write pretty good stuff, and you're even writing speeches for your MCA up home, your MP, your governor. Do not let anyone look down on you. Number 2, it says, be an example to all believers in what you say. If your speech is not as what should be for a believer, then you're not a good example. If your speech is full of obscenities and insults and lies, you're not a good believer. When we go on, in your love, if you don't love people, actually, by the way, okay, that is a topic for another day. I can dwell there for quite a bit. Kama upendi watu, kupenda tu watu, basic thing, kupenda watu, you're not really being a good example of what a believer should look like. Number 4, your faith. If you don't believe, if you don't actually believe in God, and I'm not speaking about believing in that you're a believer, but if you cannot give hope to your neighborhood, to your fellow brother, to your sister, to your sibling, to your parent, to your guardian, to your kids, if you cannot give hope to them, if you cannot tell them we'll get through this, if you cannot tell someone that, you're not being a good example. Number 5, in your purity. Now, somewhere at the beginning of this week, a report by Nakada showed that people are getting initiated to alcoholism at the age of 6. People are getting initiated, actually that was tobacco at the age of 6, alcoholism at the age of 7, and by 8 people are getting initiated to, that was weed, or what we call marijuana or bang, right? Now, if you're not an example to these young ones in purity, purity talks about living a righteous life. If you're in high school right now and already umeanza kuvuta sigara all over your neighborhood, you're not being a good example of purity, of righteousness, of holy living. Ndio maana unasikia mtu at 6 years old ashaanza kutumia tobacco, at 7 ashaanza kulewa, at 8 ashaanza kuvuta bangi, ashaanza kuvuta weed, because you're not being a good example to your brother, to your sister in purity, in holiness. So even before we talk about people not despising your youth, are you a good example to another believer, to even the non-believer? Purpose today to be a good example. That is the King's Parchment, which is the Saturday Vibes devotion, where we get to understand and learn scripture. Right? We go for a very small break, and then I'll be back. We'll be winding up the topic of the day. This is Hope FM.
He keeps playing.